Welcome into House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and joining me as always is Gilbert Manzano, who does it for Sports Illustrated MMQB. Gilbert, the Rams are the NFC West champions, and now they're this game 18 game versus the Seahawks has kind of turned into a meaningless game. So we'll kind of do a couple of different things here. We'll mostly focus on the Rams and a lot of news and notes coming out of Rams practice there in Woodland Hills. So, how are you doing, sir? And I know it's kind of hard to, get excited about, a week 18 when there's not much to get excited about. So, but how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Happy New Year to everybody. And the last time we spoke, we weren't sure about the Rams winning the NFC West. Now we know. So, if you're a Rams supporter here, congrats to you. Your team won the division there after starting 1-4, but you've been hearing that for the last 4 days. So, you don't care about being the little engine that could to overcome a 1-4 start. You care about winning the Super Bowl. So, we're gonna focus on Week 18 to discuss maybe how far they could go. I kind of gave you a little glimpse of where I think this team is probably headed. I feel like division round, maybe Victor feels a little further. We'll discuss it, I feel like, in this show. But yeah, a bunch of matchups, potentials to look forward to. The NFC is wide open. I can't wait to see the NFC
Yeah.
games here. And honestly, if you vouch for the Rams making the Super Bowl, I wouldn't even doubt that. Like, cool, fine. You believe in that? I can see that too. It's just wide open in the NFC. AFC is you got the big three Ravens and the Chiefs and the Bills, and NFC. I could even make a case for the Commanders, maybe not the Packers, the Packers too, I guess. But 1 through 7, we'll find out, and then yeah, Week 18 is a little weird with the Seahawks, but hey, Jimmy G starting for the Rams, it's a little
Yeah.
weird. And did we see it in the preseason? I forgot. Was Jimmy G around for the preseason? There's a lot
No,
of
no,
Stetson
it was
Bennett.
all
Yeah.
Stenson Bennett.
Oh, okay. There you go. Something to talk about in Week 18.
Yeah, we got Jimmy G. We're gonna get a lot of Blake Corum in this game. I'm
Finally.
interested to see how many guys. I mean, you only have so many guys you can rest, Gilbert, just because you have a 53-man roster. It's not like how you do it in preseason where you can just rest the majority of your starters on both sides. So I am curious to see which guys are. We already know that Matthew Stafford will be inactive. You're gonna have Jimmy G, as you said, be the starter, and then Stetson Bennett will be the backup. So there's a lot to get into. There's a potential for a play caller to take over in this game to be able to call plays. So we'll get into that as well. Um, and we also have Pro Bowl selections. The Rams only were able to get one, and we'll talk about that as well. But that leads us into our engagement question of the day for our viewers and listeners. Gilbert, what is that?
Who was the Rams' biggest Pro Bowl snub, right? When you only got one player on a 10-win team, you're probably asking yourself, only one? Really? Only one here? But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna, disagree too hard there. I guess Puka Nakua is the one that comes to mind, but he missed a handful of games earlier in the year. I understand that. Guys like CeeDee Lamb are missing games right now. Maybe Kyron Williams you can make a case for, but like we mentioned, Victor, before we started recording, we're like, oh, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Jameer Gibbs. Yeah, kind of tough for Kyron there. Maybe Kobe Turner, maybe Braden Fisk on the defensive side. But it is impressive that Jared Verse has made it as a rookie. I'm assuming he didn't get a lot of public votes, or maybe he did. Maybe Rams fans showed out for Jared Verse, but I'm sure there were some other factors that led to Jared Verse making it. So that says a lot about the rookie right there. He doesn't have the sacks, but everybody knows about the pressure, the way
Hmm.
he moves around and on the defensive line, the way his pressure is creating opportunities for the other guys, especially in the middle. He's definitely a vital piece there for the defense. So let me know if you're angry about this. Who was the Rams' biggest Pro Bowl snub? I don't really have an issue with it, but I can see that some people are very upset about it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing is that last year you saw them get like three guys in there. I think it was three or four guys in there, and it was a wild card team. Now you're a division winner and you only get one guy. So, and it's one of your rookie guys. So I understand where people are coming from. And I guess the only guys that I would have, I thought would probably make it was, like you said, Puka and then Braden Fest, just because how good he's been playing. But you look at the names that were ahead, I think the only one I would probably challenge would be McLaurin from the Commanders, but it's been such a magical season for them that I also understand it. So I have no problem with it. I mean, we know what Puka means to this team, and I don't think you need validation to make it into the Pro Bowl if you're Puka.
Yeah, and it's all weird. It's there's public or fans voting. There's depending if your position is stacked, like the I think Jared Verse got a break on the
Yeah,
NFC because AFC edge rushers is loaded. You got TJ Watt, Miles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, Daniel Hunter, Will Anderson Jr. I'm sure I'm missing somebody. Nick Bonito from the Broncos. There's a bunch of edge rushers that did well.
yeah,
So
Khalil Mack.
Khalil
Yeah,
Mack too. So yeah, so sometimes about that, sometimes about people can get over maybe your injuries came a little earlier. Like CeeDee Lamb got hurt at the end, probably after the voting, the whole
yeah,
process there. But it's hard to argue against Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb. I guess McLaurin's a tough one there to kind of say okay over Puka. But again, injuries definitely have that kind of lingers in people's minds too.
yeah. We already got some comments on here. We got Nate 323 said Fist for sure led our rookies in sacks with 8. So, but like I said, I mean, you look at who got in. I'm looking at the roster right now, and interior lineman Jalen Carter, Dexter Lawrence, or Vita Bea, and it's outside linebacker. It's Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Winkle, and Jared Verse. So as
Yeah,
we said, I think Fist has kind of turned it on late, and I think a lot of this voting process took place earlier in the year, and so that's probably what hurt Fist there. And then Mike Armenta says 7 Lions Pro Bowlers. Come on now.
I can
But
see
I
it
mean,
though.
they've been the best team for the
Yeah.
majority of this season. So, yeah,
But yeah,
it,
one I get the anger being upset with that, but yeah, also it's about name and that's why a lot of teams do a lot of like campaigns and pushes for these players, or maybe don't have as big of a following. I get that Dexter Lawrence is hurt he's been hurt for the last 5 weeks, but if you compare his first 12 games compared to anybody else in the NFC, Dexter Lawrence was the best defensive tackle in the NFL. Well, outside of Chris Jones, but that's in the AFC. But
yeah,
and then Jalen Carter, maybe you can make a case for that. I don't think he's had the best season, but he's still, seeing double teams and doing well for that front. That team is more on the secondary for that defense instead of the front. So I can see that maybe Carter and then Vita Vea. Man, I don't care. That guy's good every
yeah.
single year. Maybe he doesn't talk a lot, doesn't get a lot of press, but I know he's damn good. So he's definitely on the team. So maybe Carter is the one I would take out if you really want to make a case here.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, like I said, you can make they'll probably because of the injury to Dexter Lawrence, you probably get Brain Fist in there.
There
So
you
there
go.
you go. I mean,
That's the other part.
I
There's a bunch of alternates, like three,
yeah,
four, five.
yeah, all these guys will get in eventually. So I mean, and then Jorge Rodriguez says Rams easy dub. So
In the
we'll
playoffs,
see.
Jorge, or Jimmy G against the Seahawks?
Yeah, I want to know about that. All right, Gilbert, let's get to some Rams and Seahawks news and notes. We'll mainly just stay with the Rams. There's not really, I mean, a lot to talk about with the Seahawks. Usually we'll do a storylines. We're not going to do that in this one because we'll talk about them during the off season. There's no reason to kind of go over it because there's not much to talk about with this game, but we're gonna kind of concentrate on what is important in this game. And so the first one is, as we talked about, Matthew Stafford will be inactive in week 18. Jimmy G will start, and Stenson Bennett will be the backup. This will be the first time we see Jimmy G uh, be the starter or play in a game for the Rams, because as we talked about at the opening, we did not see him during preseason. So, what are you expecting from Jimmy G, Gilbert?
Yeah, it's gonna be also weird to see Jimmy G in a Rams uniform in a game for the Rams, but I'll say this: it's actually very, kind of I don't say it is a very important, but an underrated kind of aspect that Jimmy G is going to get some action with the Rams. Coaching staff be on the field with the Rams, like you mentioned. Victor Stetson Bennett played all of preseason, so he hasn't played in a while. He hasn't played with this team here, and maybe it's good to have that under your belt because you don't know what happens in the playoffs. I'm not trying to be negative here. I won't even say that the possibility of why would Jimmy G come in. There you go. I'm looking out for you guys. So. But if Jimmy G has to come in, you want him to have some rust off, have some repetitions with the players and with the coaching staff. So maybe it's kind of a reach take, but if you're looking for something positive here, you never know. Especially in the NFL, it happened to Jalen Hurts and the Eagles and against Washington, and here comes Kenny Pickett. So sometimes it's good
Yeah,
to get your backup a run there, and then Yeah, I don't know, but Stetson Bennett, it's weird. Maybe I could part of me wants us to be like, maybe give him like a quarter or a second and a half just to see
Yeah,
what he does in a regular season game because you invested a fourth round pick in the guy, but he wasn't good in the preseason. So I don't know what to expect with Stetson Bennett, but maybe it wouldn't do you harm if you play him for a quarter to kind of get that out of his belt or put that under his belt and figure out, okay, is this guy going to be the future? Because Jimmy G's probably a 1 year contract anyway, so you move on. But we'll see what happens with that.
yeah, and we have Michael Armenta says, "I'm looking forward to seeing Jimmy G play. I like to see Bennett too." So there you go. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with both of those quarterbacks, but I think you want to see the most out of Jimmy G, and then if it depends on where the score is at too. We have no idea. We'll get into whether or not the Rams should play for the number 3 seed because I think if it's important because if the Commanders win that game against the Giants, they're in as the 6th seed, right? I mean, nothing changes if not if I'm not mistaken. Where it changes is if the Rams lose and then the Buccaneers win their game, then
Yeah.
the Rams move down to the 4th seed.
Yeah, the Buccaneers have the tiebreaker for the conference record against the Rams. So that I guess those losses earlier in the year, does
Yeah,
affect them in a way. But it's tricky because the Buccaneers could definitely leapfrog the Rams there because they're playing for the division. They're looking at the Falcons like, ah, crap, you got to play this game and beat the Saints, and the Saints they're on the way out. I feel like that the last 2
yeah,
weeks they got beat down by the Raiders. They got beat down by the Packers. I think they're done with the fighting for is Dan Rizzi there, the interim head
yeah.
coach
Then
for
Rizzi.
so I could definitely see the Buccaneers winning. So it's kind of like last year, remember, where Carson Wentz had a lot of pressure to win that game for the Rams to get that 3-6 matchup for the Lions and the Rams there. So maybe Jimmy G does it and beat the Seahawks. What the hell do the Seahawks have to play for, anyways, right? Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, pride is pretty much all it, but you want a better draft pick, right? So
right.
maybe Jimmy G beats Geno Smith, who's not really motivated, and that maybe DK Metcalf is not motivated. I doubt it. I know Mike McDonald's going to play hard, have his guys play hard there. So who knows? But at that point, man, like you could either get the Commanders and the Packers, who are a level below the loser of the Lions and the Vikings. So, but I get it. Sean McVay always goes for help. I won't knock that approach there. You might get
Yep.
a very tired team. Say you get the loser of Sunday Night Football and they're in a battle, and you get the home game on a Saturday, and that team has to fly across the country essentially and play on a short week on a Saturday 6 days later. So there's a benefit to that too. So I bet Sean McVay's thinking about that as well.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot to kind of consider. There's still a lot at play. It's just who are we going to see out there? How much do you see a lot of these guys playing in this game? And that's also like, what do the Seahawks have to play for? Nothing. And so just pride. I mean, it's game 18 at this point, as we talked about. A lot of it is just pretty much, are you going for stats? Are you just playing for next season? And I know that a lot of people are out there playing for, other teams now, and I get that, but like, DK Metcalf, a lot of the big names and they know where they're going to be at. It's just it's the middle guys and then the lower tier guys that you kind of want to see more out of, and for both teams, Gilbert.
Yeah, and put it this way, Victor. Like I could honestly make a case for the Commanders and the Packers beating the Rams. Same thing with the Vikings or the Lions, and I can make a case for the Rams beating all those teams I just mentioned. So I get it. There's a drop off between Lions and Vikings and Commanders and the Packers, but they're all good teams. And I know the Commanders are probably the weakest from the seven there, but you've never seen Jaden Daniels in a game, and I think that mobility could throw you off there. If you're edge rusher trying to bring them down, and you're Jared Verse, like why can't we catch this guy? And your offense is on the sideline, because you're rusty there because Jaden Daniels is killing the clock. That could be an issue too. You played the
Yeah,
Packers in week 4 or 5. I know that was a long time ago when your team was injury depleted there. But you never know. Maybe Jordan Love wakes up out of his second year funk and you're having a tough time there. So uh, maybe it's not the worst thing to get the team that's tired from the NFC
yeah,
sorry, NFC North showdown. So, but I guess the long-winded answer is like I can make a case for all four teams to beat the Rams, and then the other way where I could see the Rams beating all four teams. It's wide open. I'm telling you, in the
oh yeah.
NFC, and I'm excited to see these playoff
I'm
games here.
I'm with you. I think the NFC has they're they're better from top to bottom. The AFC is top heavy, and so yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not going to be an easy whoever you get, whether you're the third or the fourth seed. It's just that's why McVay is just gonna sit his starters, and then whatever hand they play, that's the way they're gonna go. And as somebody pointed out during our post game show, um, with when it comes to McVay, you're only gonna see he's gonna want to sit the guys out and then worry about the first round pick. But I was gonna say the fourth seed last time they won the Super Bowl, they were the fourth seed, so that was a
Yeah.
good point too.
And honestly, the more I think about like what the hell are the Packers and the Commanders gonna do? Like, do you care if it's the Buccaneers or the Rams? They're both very good teams. You're gonna be
Yeah,
on the road regardless. So like 6 and 7, I don't even know what to think. Like, I don't was Jaden Daniels gonna play? Like he
yeah,
busted his rib like a month ago. You're gonna
yeah,
risk that? The Buccaneers got a bunch of they have to play Buccaneers, not that one, but uh the Packers, do you want to stay, fresh, or do you want to get the bad taste of the Minnesota loss out of your mouth and you play and you beat down those Bears who were terrible? So it's a lot to consider here. And maybe for the first time in a long time, Victor, I feel like a lot of teams are playing for seeding than rest. Obviously, Sean McVay is
yeah,
never going to go away from what he believes in. That's rest. But
yeah.
in the AFC, it's like, do you want to play Houston or do you want to rest? And it's like Houston they're not that good. So maybe
Oh
you want to
yeah,
go play for seeding. So I feel like in the NFC, that's not really the case here. So I can see a lot of teams resting besides the Buccaneers and the Falcons. But in the AFC, man, the Steelers and the Chargers trying to get Houston is going to be fun to watch. Or maybe Harbaugh and Tomlin pull a fast one and say, "Hey, we're all about rest here too." But it is kind of a stranger where that's a debate. I remember there were some years where nobody even cared. They just rested their players and they're good with that.
yeah, and then we know the Rams aren't going to go away from that, like you mentioned. Some other teams are going to probably have to, because all depends on, we got a couple Charger fans in here, and they're probably, depending on what happens between that Bengals and Steelers game,
Hmm.
they're probably going to have to play their starters against the Raiders because they want that fifth seed as well. But to Robert D, he says, is Puka playing? He needs 10 yards to 1,000 yards, and in practice, both Cooper Cup and Puka um were on the scout team. Last season, they let Puka go out there and get the record. Now, will this matter to McVay that he only needs 10 yards to get to 1,000 yards?
I don't think so. He Puka Nacua has dealt with multiple injuries this year. Why would you
Yeah,
risk it to get 10
yeah,
yards here? And honestly, people call me stupid or dumb for saying Puka Nacua should sit and I go for the record. Oh, here
yeah,
we are a year later, and Brock Bowers broke his receptions record, but I got the other one was the receiving one.
right,
But these records with the extra game, they break easily, and everybody's
yeah,
saying Puka Nacua has to go for these rookie records, and then a year later, Brock Bowers broke it. Jalen
yeah.
Waddle had it a couple years ago. So to me, I don't care about records. I care about winning the damn Super Bowl. But I know some people are disappointed with Saquon Barkley not going for it. 101 yards is a lot in the NFL. That's a lot of wear and tear. People are tripping. So I would not risk it for 10 yards either for Puka Nacua.
Yeah, Willie Bowen says the starter should play in the first quarter. I just don't see it. We already know that uh Matthew Stafford is going to be inactive in the first quarter. I mean, in week 18. So we'll see how many of the starters actually play. I think that's more of we want to know because there's only so many guys you can sit out in this game and play the
That's true.
backups. So
And,
we'll see which ones are going
and
to have to play, and I'm sure they're not going to be happy about it.
yeah, one more thing too, Victor. I saw Bill Belichick mention that it's very difficult to pick and choose who to sit, and that's why a lot of teams either just rest everybody or they pick a. It's hard to pick a couple because you're showing favoritism to those players, and I'm like, yeah, but I got like Puka Nacua who's giving it his all, 110% every game, throwing his body around for catches. If you're a team, you're probably saying, yeah, that guy needs a rest too. So I
And
could
same with
definitely.
Cooper Cup. I
Yeah,
mean,
he's a veteran. He's earned it. So
yeah,
there's definitely different exceptions here, but I get what Bill Belichick was saying that it shows favoritism, but you could definitely make a case for everybody.
yeah. I mean, you just never know, honestly, and it's hard to figure out when Blake Corum should get his first touchdown. So I think that's a good. If I was making a bet, I say that this is pretty. This is going to happen for Blake Corum. I think he gets his first touchdown in this game.
Yeah, I don't know if people are still playing fantasy football or they're playing best ball, but I will definitely put Blake Corum in my Week 18 lineup.
Yeah, Mike Garment. Oh, actually, let me do Robert D because he says we want the Texans, and he means the Chargers. Go Bengals! Laugh out loud. So there you go.
Yeah, I
I,
guess if you get the 60, you have to play the Ravens. So the Texans are definitely easier. But man, people are underestimating rest in the NFL. But I get it. That Chargers team is very young, so I could definitely go for it and play Houston. Ugh.
Yeah, at least get an easy win. I mean, not an easy win, but you have a potential for a better opportunity to win that game. Michael Armenta says Packers have our number. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
we did mention that a couple of weeks ago.
yeah, but they haven't played. Like, I don't think Stafford's played. They missed a bunch of. I know that Stafford did play in this game, but he was missing a bunch of guys.
Hmm.
It's just they haven't been at 100%. And we'll see what happens with that. Nate 323 says, looking to see what Forbes can do, and hopefully we got a gem. I think he plays well with our defense, playing more zone than he did with the Commanders. He's a ball hog in zone defense, and I mean that was the thing coming out of Mississippi State, I believe. He was a guy who took the ball away, so that was why he shot up to the first round, and the Commanders took him. It just didn't work out because they were I it just felt like they weren't playing him the right way, and maybe things work out here for him.
Yeah, it's a good point, Nate. I want to see what the Emmanuel Forbes can do. There's a reason why he's a first round pick. I didn't like the pick at the time because of his slim frame. He took too many chances. He was a little risky, but you can't deny that he's a ball hawk and all the interceptions he racked up in college. So definitely worth a try. If the Rams see interest and they went for it, they got him on waivers. Why not? And then the other thing here for the Chargers fans who are watching, thank you for watching. By the way, I know this is a Ram show, and you guys being on here means a lot. But Michael Vato Davis was horrendous in that game against the freaking Falcons in Week 17. He plays for the Commanders now, and he had the penalty. Michael Davis did on the Falcons where they got into
Oh
field goal
yeah.
range,
Hmm.
and they missed a damn kick there, so they got bailed out there. But yeah, they're probably missing Forbes over there in Washington, which is kind of weird to say right now.
Yeah. Jorge says he loves you, man. I'll just say that
Thank you.
his comment on here. I just don't want to get
Like he's joking around, but I appreciate it.
yeah. Johnny G says Jimmy G's legacy game coming. So
Oh yeah.
we
Hey,
love
Carson
Johnny
Wentz
G
did it last
being
year. Why not?
yeah, yeah. Hey, I mean, it got him a job with the Chiefs now. So, and I know a lot of people are, what is that? I think the Broncos are 10-point favorites. I don't know. I will talk about it in Gilberto's hour coming up
Yeah.
later on. But
Yeah. Quick promo. We'll be on again
yeah,
and around like 6:30 ish or something to talk all week 18. So stick around too for that, please.
yeah, yeah. And Robert, to your comment there, make sure you stay tuned because to Gilberto's hour will be on in about 6 o'clock Pacific time, and then you'll know his pick. I'm pretty sure he'll let you know what his pick is for Raiders and Chargers. Delbert Sagado says 11-6. Bring them all on. Our JB team is hungry and groomed. Puros cuernos. Saludos, compas. So,
Yeah, I'm not
hey,
ruling that
saludos
out. I
to
could
you.
definitely see a win here, and that'd be
Yeah.
good for them to get the third seed. But it's tough with the backups.
Yeah, and then also you improve on last season's record. You go from wild card to a division winner, and then you also improve record wise. You go from 10-7 to 11-6. So I mean that's another thing too that you're playing for, even though it's there's not much to play for in terms of going up against the Seahawks because now you've clinched the division and McVay doesn't want to play most of his starters. So we'll see. And then Steve on great point here in terms of that game against the Packers. Most of the O line was gone, and neither Puka or Cooper played in that game.
Yeah, that it's a different team, and it's funny that that team also beat the 49ers in what, week 2, week 3. So
Yeah,
yeah, we use that as an excuse for the Rams, but also you suck 49ers for losing to the depleted Rams there, week 3 or 4, I forget.
yeah. And then Jorge says I'm a Compas fan, so thank you
Shout out.
for
Thank you.
joining us here. And yeah, and to Robert Diaz, it's real nice to see both the LA teams in the Dan this year. It's the first time since 2018 uh both teams have played both teams have made the playoffs since 2018, so that's really
Oh
cool.
wow, it's been a minute. I
Yeah.
didn't realize how long it's been.
Which comment is it, this one, Willie? Wrong Steve, or Uh, which yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
read.
we got the first two.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
starters
we
should
got
play the
both of
first
them in.
quarter,
So
and then Blake Corum should get his first rushing TD.
yeah,
And
so we got them in. But if you have
yeah,
any more comments, Willie, go ahead and send them our way, and we'll get them on for you. Um, and then just keep continuing on, Gilbert, with news and notes here for the Rams. Mike LaFleur, could he be calling plays in Week 18 versus the Seahawks? Should he? I mean, I haven't gotten any confirmation. I saw Jordan Rodriguez kind of mention it, but I haven't heard any confirmation. I think last season for Week 18 against the 49ers, I believe it was their defensive backs coach who was the coach for that game, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, I'm forgetting too, but it would be nice
Aubrey
to see.
Pleasant, sorry,
Yeah,
Aubrey Pleasant.
yeah, and yeah, that too. If Chris Shula's had the whole year with defensive play calling, maybe he's passing it down for somebody for Week 18. Same thing with Sean McVay. I love that they do that as a coaching staff there. So yeah, we'll see what they do, but why not? You're experimenting in Week 18 and trying new things here.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'd be up for that, especially if there's not much to kind of play for here. You let the OC kind of call plays, and that way it also allows him to start, for people to try to hire him for NFL head coach. So we'll see. I mean, we know what happened in New York, and he's gotten a lot better here. He's I've already seen a lot of the players come out and say that he's been a big influence on them. So shout out to Michael LaFleur. We
I
know
do
that.
wonder well, let's say and Lafleur too. Shula and Lafleur. I wonder if they get some head coaching interviews this hiring cycle, especially Shula, because what he's
Yeah,
done the last 8 weeks of the season. This defense has been pretty good.
yeah.
What I think they were allowing 9 points or less in the last 3 games. 49ers, Jets, and who did they play last week? The Cardinals. So maybe get some interviews, and obviously we know the whole McVay factor. If you're calling offensive plays or working with the offensive coach in mind, Sean McVay, you're going to get an interview every now and then.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with this with this coaching side. We've seen that he has lost so many coaches, and yet he just became the first NFL coach to, lead two teams that were under 500, 3 games under 500, and led them to the playoffs. So, I mean, he just continues to do a good job of coaching, and then his coordinators have done really well as well. Nate 323. Who do you think gets the coach of the year? McVay has turned this team from 1-4 to potentially 11-6.
He's not even an option. It's weird
Yeah.
because like if you're not the new coach in town or the talk of the year, you don't even have a chance. Which I don't think that's right. And that's why I'm saying like just because the Vikings have been hot the last month that they're gonna give it to Kevin O'Connell. Like Dan Campbell has done the same thing for the entire year. So to me, it's like
Mm-hmm.
winner of Week 18. You're putting the number one seed on the line, the division on the line. Put coach of the year on the line. I would not care if the winner gets a coach of the year, but I bet the voters have made up their mind already. It's going to be Kevin O'Connell. I can't disagree because the job he did with Sam Darnold, the job that they've done on the defensive side, he's been overseeing everything. They're 14-2 right now, but the Lions are also 14-2, and Dan Campbell has never won the award here. And everybody wants to give the credit to Ben Johnson here. So that's the thing I don't like about if you're not calling the plays, like Kevin
Sure.
O'Connell does, you don't get as much love. But we'll see. And then one more thing. That I just remember. It's kind of a weak hiring cycle or head coaching cycle. Like it's Ben
Mm-hmm.
Johnson, Mike Rabel, and there might be like 6 or 7 openings. So I wonder who gets the other jobs here. So you never know. It could be a couple surprises too.
Yeah, some guys coming from college, I would not be surprised as well, Gilbert.
Yeah.
And I'll say this in terms of um, you might not want to win Coach of the Year, Gilbert, because a lot of the guys who usually typically win it have not done well after. I mean, Brian Dable won it. We've seen what's
Oh
happened
yeah.
the past 2 years. Last season it was Kevin Stefanski. We've seen what
He's
happened.
won it twice.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you really want to have a coach and then have him be gone? It's kind of tough. Coach of the year might be a curse, if I'm being honest. I remember, I think it was Nagy from the Bears won it, and then he was out within 2 years. He was fired by the Bears. So, I mean, like I said, I understand that McVay hasn't won it and I don't think Belichick won it. If I don't remember him winning. So we'll
He
see.
won a couple of times, yeah. Yeah, like maybe early on in his career. I think the
Yeah,
undefeated season and then their first year when they were really good.
yeah. But like I said, I don't think we know the job that McVay is doing, and he should be up for Coach of the Year, as Willie Bowen said. He should be Coach of the Year,
Yeah.
but
I
at
think
this
Jim
point,
Harbaugh too. There's a lot of good
yeah,
contenders
Jim
out there.
Harbaugh is another good one. Yeah, well, and Andy Reid hasn't won it either. So I mean, it just honestly, if you're a good coach, it's going to be hard for you unless you're a surprise guy that not a lot of people. Dan Quinn should be up there as well. I mean, with the job he's done with the Commanders, that's usually who it goes to, like a new
Mhm.
coach who comes in and changes things, like you just said with Jim Harbaugh. So, Angel, they will be on tomorrow. So Angel is asking, "Hey
Oh, yeah.
guys, is there going to be a What's Up Bowl this week?" Yes, it's going to be on tomorrow. I Fernando said I think tomorrow sometime during the middle of the day, right? If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
I could text Fernando right now, and I'll let you guys know in a bit, but he did mention Friday afternoon time, and I think he's
Yeah,
trying to get a guest too, so,
yeah.
definitely be locked in. Let me text him right now.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why it got moved to Friday, guys, is because he was at Chargers. He's getting a bunch of interviews, and he was in the Chargers locker room today. So that was part of the big reason why. So yeah, stay locked in, and as Robert D said, Jim turned around my team too. Maybe a 11-16. That's great. Also, that's also great to so yeah. I mean, it's hard to kind of know. We wish we knew the criteria a lot with a lot of these awards. Like I've been saying, like for MVP, it's probably going to be narrative. It's down to Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. It's whoever, whatever guy you like the most. It seems like, or whoever had the better narrative. And then Coach of the Year is usually a surprise team that that a coach that led a surprise team that nobody expected to be good. But we'll see. I
Yeah.
mean, this season it sounds like a lot of people are either liking Kevin O'Connell or Dan Campbell.
Yeah, honestly, MVP is tough, man. I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking maybe Lamar Jackson, when you really look at it and break it down. But Josh Allen has never won it. I could definitely see him getting the votes because of that, which is stupid to think like, oh, because you never won it, let's give you the votes here.
Yeah,
But they're so close, and I can't even make a case for Joe Burrow. I don't even give a crap about that they're not going to make the playoffs. He's been the best quarterback this year.
yeah,
But make it Saquon. I don't care. But it's weird. Everything with all these votings are they're all weird, and you have your own kind of agenda and criterias, and nobody tends to agree on anything. And
yeah,
I hate the comeback player of the year where you have to have
yep,
an injury to come back. Like Sam Darnold was labeled a damn bust. I buried the guy. People buried
yep.
Sam Darnold, and he's over here balling. Why can't he be the comeback player of the
Yeah,
year?
he should
I hate it. Yeah.
be. I don't
Um,
care about your dumb rules about how you decided to change the things
I
for
will vote
comeback.
just out of spite. Like Sam Darnold,
Yeah,
put him in there.
Sam Darnold. Yeah, come on, voters, put in Sam Darnold as comeback player of the year. I mean, he wasn't good for no, everybody thought he was a bust, and now he could be on the verge of having the best player on the who the he could be the quarterback for the best team in the NFL if they win on Sunday night.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's wild. The NFC quarterbacks, like the three best ones, are like people that people gave up on: Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. But I would not be surprised if Matthew Stafford, the best quarterback coming out the NFC
yeah.
playoffs. It's weird in the NFC.
Yeah, and see, like Robert D says, like media picked us, and he's talking about the Chargers as 9.5 win team this year. Josh Allen, to me, more wins with less great players around him. But
Yeah,
you can make
the argument.
yeah, like I said, you can make the argument for Lamar Jackson as well. I get it, like just because he got Derrick Henry there. I mean, they lost a bunch of coordinators. They also lost a bunch of players as well. I mean, that's the thing too. I mean, some of those guys kind of stepped up too. It
Yeah,
just
Lamar is a better stats, and he's going to win a division. And then
yeah,
his secondary was so terrible. Earlier in the year, he had to lift that team with his arm, and he wasn't just being the mobile quarterback. So after I watched him play on Christmas, I'm like, yeah, that guy is a freaking highlight machine. Maybe he is,
yeah,
but I get the whole Henry factor, and I get the Allen has less, but Allen still has James Cook. He's a good running back. He's not Derrick Henry, but he's damn good too. He was good for you, Vic, in fantasy.
yep. And Happy Gilmore, I think he's right. McVay did win the
Yeah,
Coach of the Year in
it
2017
is
or 18.
rookie
So
coach of the year. Yeah,
yeah,
rookie season as a coach.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So he says, who would you say is the best quarterback in the NFC this year?
Ugh, that's tough. I think I'm gonna still go with Jared Goff, but Baker Mayfield, man, watch out. When he has Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield could deal, but I can't get the Cowboys game out of my head either. So, but his roller coaster is not like this anymore. It's more like up, and then he has one drop off every now and then. But same thing with Goff. Remember the 5 interception game?
Yep.
But these guys are all and Darnold too. They're in very good situations, good
Yeah.
coaching, good
It's all
OCs, good
they're in good
talent.
systems. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the thing. They're in really good systems,
Yeah,
and
they can't carry you like a Joe Burrow can.
yeah,
Like if you flip the quarterbacks, man, like Goff and Baker and Darnold will probably be. Well, I guess it would be Chase still. So you had Jamar Chase, but they have complete teams when you think about it. So I think Burrow is one of those guys that could definitely carry teams. The same thing, but I think Allen needed a good situation and get going. Same thing with Jackson. They all landed on good situations, but I know that now that they're seasoned, they could definitely do it on bad teams. But they didn't have that luxury. Baker, Darnold, and Goff. They didn't have, well, I guess Goff did for a bit, but the other two did not. But yeah, everybody has their own situation. A story we could break it down for days and hours. But I'm
yeah,
excited. I like the quarterback position right now, Victor. I don't even
yeah,
care if there's not 32 good quarterbacks or everybody's going to be an elite quarterback. But you break it down from elite to promising young player to comeback player. They're all good stories, and I enjoy watching these quarterbacks. It's been some very good quarterback play this season.
yeah. And I'm like I said, I mean, I think the best quarterbacks are all in the AFC this season, the top five. Um, Now, if you're asking me, this season, who's been the best quarterback during the regular season in the NFC? I would say it's Sam Darnold. I mean, the stats just, they tell you that just what he's been doing. If you're asking me who I'm taking in the NFC, I'm with with Willie Bowen. Stafford is the best quarterback in terms of once you get into the playoffs. Now, the
Yeah.
problem is that he hasn't had the stats, and so, but that's the thing. And I'm not just trying to say that because we're here on House of Horns. He's, I think, out of the ones that would be in the playoffs, he's the only one that's won a Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, if you're asking me who I have the most faith in for the playoffs, it'll be Matthew Stafford. Who's having the best season? It's not Stafford because he doesn't have the stats. But look at the AFC. I get
Yeah,
Burrow, Allen, and Jackson are having dominant season. I don't care. Give me Patrick Mahomes all day in the playoffs. So
yeah,
there's differences between best quarterback, clutch quarterback, pocket quarterback, dual threat. Like Jackson and Allen are similar because they do so many things with their legs and they can move around. One's more of speed and one's kind of a bulldozer. But Burrow doesn't do that. But Burrow might be the best pocket quarterback in the NFL right now.
yeah. I'm with you. I mean, he's played great, and he's been. I mean, I will get into it in Gilberto's hour, but I mean, yeah, he's taking his game to the next level. He's looking like what he looked like when he was at LSU, when he was just throwing the ball all over the place. Uh, Nate 323 says MVP is always a quarterback. Should give it to Saquon. I'm with
Yeah,
you,
I like it.
and Nate, I would give it to just because what he's meant. Like this, the Eagles were a mess going into the end of last season, and now we've seen look a lot. I when they lost that game to the Commanders, I was really down on Saquon. But then after what I saw them do to the Cowboys with Saquon, with a third string quarterback, that just told me like, hey, this is Saquon. Like he's the reason why. How far they go in the playoffs, the Eagles do. It's gonna come down to what Saquon can do for them.
Yeah, and then even like put aside Hurts game against the Steelers when everybody was putting pressure on him to deliver. Saquon has carried the Eagles all the time this season. That's more reason why I feel like he should sit because he's been kind of been the workhorse there. It's a better
Mhm.
situation than the Giants there, but yeah, I can't even consider Jalen Hurts being one of the top quarterback right now because he's got kind of a so-so season. So, yeah, it's different teams, different setup, but yeah, if you're gonna ask me who I'd rather have for quarterback in the playoffs, I think the top five are in the AFC, and yes, I'll mention Justin Herbert as a fifth there. But I've seen Goff make it to a Super Bowl. They almost beat the 49ers. I can't believe they lost that game in Santa Clara, the Lions in the NFC title game. They're up 24-7.
Yep.
Uh, but man, when Baker Mayfield gets going, he's really fun to watch with Mike Evans. And then Sam Darnold has already proven to me he could do it. I don't think he's going to melt in the playoffs. He has Justin Jefferson, Addison, and a good head coach to call plays for him. And then even if he does melt a little bit, like a pumpkin. They have the good defense there, so you could break it down various ways. Even with the Rams, man, like I want to say that game against the Buffalo Bills, that's probably the best offensive performance I've seen in the NFL this season. And it's been a lot. I've seen the Bengals and the Ravens go at it, but so I won't go too far. I'll go top five, but we just haven't seen it on a weekly basis. But they're capable of being an offensive juggernaut because they have the pieces, but they just don't do it every week like the Bengals do and the Ravens and the Bills do. Uh, and then with the Chargers, man, like you know they have Justin Herbert, but they just don't play that style. They play the Patriots every day. You might see it,
Yeah.
but it's just I want to see the element. What can people do to surprise people? Like if we're all assuming that the Rams are inconsistent offensively, maybe they become an offensive machine in the playoffs because
Yeah.
they have the pieces. It's just we don't see it often, and sometimes when you catch people off guard, that's how you win football games here.
Yeah, and then getting back to this game, I just don't see we're gonna see that much from. That's why he's gonna let McVay's gonna let Lafleur coach this game because also we saw the last few weeks where outside of what we saw against the Bills, we haven't seen him put on display his whole all his good plays. It feels like even against the Cardinals, it felt like and the Jets, it felt like he was just gonna put the plays out there what was good enough for him to win against the Jets and against the Cardinals. He knew what he had in that defense against the Cardinals. He knew what he had against the Jets with Kyron Williams, so he ran the ball. I think we're gonna get a different version, and that's not just me trying to tell you to be positive about what you're gonna see from this Rams team in the playoffs. But we've seen McVay go to another level, especially when he plays teams that he hasn't faced, and so if he plays like a Commanders team, if he plays a Packers team, I think the Packers are going to get a different taste. We've already seen it. I mean, we saw it in the college football championship where the Oregon Ducks barely beat the Ohio State Buckeyes, and then you see the Buckeyes just blitz the Oregon Ducks. Playing that team again, I think a lot of Rams fans are right in terms of if they play the Packers again, I could totally see the Rams blitzing the Packers just because of what we've seen Sean McVay do.
Yeah, and I know the Rams don't have the secondary like the Packers or the Vikings do, but they do have the front. And when you have pass rushers, you're always going to have a chance. I remember that Eagles team in 2017 when Nick Foles, like yeah, Nick Foles got the credit, but they pretty much only had a chance because they had a very good front. And I remember all the
Yeah.
pass rushers that they had. They didn't really have a star one, but they had like four or five dudes that were very good. And that's what the Rams have. They have four or five deep pass rushers that could create a havoc in the trenches there. So imagine if you're a young quarterback like Jaden Daniels or Jordan Love having to deal with that on a weekly basis, or sorry, on a playoff game. That could definitely create a lot of problems for you. And then you have a head coach McVay, you have Stafford, you have Puka Nakua. Like they have all the pieces. The one weakness I do worry about them, well, there's two weaknesses. One
Hmm.
is the back end of the defense, and then the
Yep.
the first part is being inconsistent offensively. Like 11 first quarters without scoring a point in the season, it's a problem.
Yeah.
That's not a couple bad games here in the first quarter. You've been scoreless in the first quarter 11 times this season. Are you not preparing well? If you fall behind and say you're playing the red hot Lions or Vikings, the loser of that Week 18 game, and you're down 14 points, yeah, good luck trying to come out of that hole there. If you're having another scoreless first quarter, and I don't think they've scored a touchdown in a bunch of those in most of those games this season in the first quarter.
Yeah. Outside of it's funny. The ones where they did score was the Vikings and the Bills game.
Oh, there you go.
That was it.
Yeah, don't fall
And
behind
so,
against those teams, and you're gonna be
yeah.
fine.
Yeah, so that's part of the problem, as you said. And Mike Armenta says Stafford has been lucky throwing balls that were bobbled and should have been picks in three of the last four games. So, yeah, I think he was the one that really needed this rest, as we talked about. I'm glad that they're gonna sit him down and they're gonna let Jimmy G play in this game, and I expect him to be uh, in ready to go against the first round opponent, whoever it might be. Happy Gilmore says McVay is going to break out his playbook. So, yeah, I expect that as well. I mean, I think part of it too, when you face division opponents, it's kind of hard to, I'll scheme them when they've seen everything you have. So you pretty much are playing, you're pretty much playing them straight up, and then, if you can beat them, you beat them, and that's what we saw against the Cardinals. Nate323 says, "Who do you think has the best defense in the NFC and AFC? Lions looking like they will get some players back."
NFC, I feel like it's a toss up between Philadelphia and Minnesota. I think
Hmm.
Minnesota has better pass rushers and they're more aggressive, but man, it's hard to pass the ball on Philly. Uh, I know some of the secondary guys in Minnesota have benefited from the front because they're getting interceptions and things like that, but that's the front making all the damage there. But in Philly, it's the opposite. Besides Jalen Carr is a machine, but that secondary man has just been holding it down. So I'll go with a tie there. But obviously don't overlook the Rams, man. I just think they're weak at linebacker in the secondary. But man, they've been very good the last month here. And then defense on the AFC, I think I'm gonna still go Kansas City. I don't trust Buffalo's defense. I don't trust Baltimore's been better. They've definitely turned it around. They were horrendous for the 3 months there, and
Yeah.
they really played better. I'll give credit to the young DC and Zach Orr there. You know, he had a lot of pressure to fill the shoes of Mike McDonald, but they're doing well. Pittsburgh is always good, but they're not like that good. But they always have a
Yeah, their
chance of
front seven is good, but they're
yeah,
getting beat on the back end.
yeah. And I
Just
know
like
they're starting to point fingers at each other in the secondary. I
yeah,
don't like that Pittsburgh, but yeah, you got TJ Watt. Chargers defense is very good too. But I'm gonna go with I know and with the Chiefs defense, man, they're still very good. When you have if Chris Jones is healthy, and then the way they play without Chris Jones on Christmas Day, where they freaking pretty much destroyed Russell Wilson with 7 sacks there, like Karloftis doesn't get a lot of credit. You still got McDuffie in the back end. You still got Nick Bolton. So I'm gonna still go with Casey, and then you still got Spagnuolo as their defensive coordinator.
yeah. I'm with you. I mean, you have I think two of the top three forced turnovers in the Vikings and the Eagles. So I'm with you there. And then the AFC, I think it's still the Chiefs. With they get a lot of the credit. They've missed Jalen Watson, on the outside there for on their secondary, but outside of that, I mean, they've been really good lately, and
They've adjusted after that, after a
yeah,
couple of rocky starts because of the injury you mentioned, but they've definitely gotten better.
yeah, and then with Baltimore, as you said, I thought moving Kyle Hamilton into safety instead of having him be more, closer to the line, I think really helped them. So, and like I said, the Rams, man, don't sleep on the Rams. I know they've made a couple of adjustments there, but that front four has been legit. They've created so much pressure. I think the thing that would scare me about whoever they face is make sure they've been really their Achilles heels against playing mobile quarterbacks. A guy like you just said, uh, Jaden Daniels wouldn't be ideal just because he can move around. And if you can't get to the sack, if you can't sack him, it's gonna be tough for the Rams to be able to hold down that offense.
Yeah, and then imagine if you draw like a Jared Goff or a Sam Darnold in the wild card matchup. Who's to say if they don't go back to attack in the second? They're like, are you really that good in now? Are you really that much improved? Let's test you with Justin Jefferson. Let's test
Yep.
you with Amon Ra and Jameson Williams. And we saw what happened with Jameson Williams and the Rams in Week 1. So, like, you think you know the team very well, but sometimes teams are like, you know what? We don't think you're that good in this area, and we'll attack you. We
And that
saw it. We saw it with Brian Flores and Jordan Love. Yeah, you're a good quarterback, but here's man coverage. Try to beat us, or we'll put pressure on you.
Yeah, and I mean, when it comes to the playoffs, everything gets magnified. Every weakness they're gonna exploit. It's not like during the regular season where you just see teams. Like I said, they're gonna play you. Pretty much straight up, and if they win, they win. But when it comes to the playoffs, they're gonna digest every little uh problem that you have, and they're gonna try to exploit it. And it just becomes bigger and bigger once you move on in the playoffs. And so that's where, like, the Rams really need to kind of focus in and see what you have and fix a lot of the problems that you have that we've noticed this season.
Yeah, no, we'll see how it is, and I think people overlook the fact that they have a home game to start off, and
Yeah.
it's not Houston facing the Steelers or the Chargers, and we're going to put money on the Chargers or Steelers to beat Houston. I could definitely see the Rams being favored against the winner the NFC North or the Packers or the Commanders because that home game is going to be crucial. All the weaknesses that you have are not as big of an issue because you're at home, you're well rested, you have Week 18 off, like because they handle business on Saturday night against the Cardinals, man. I like them to win their matchup regardless of who they play because of everything I just laid out. Rest, being at home, more time to prepare. Sean McVay has been preparing for all 4 or 5 teams
Oh
that
yeah.
he might face on wild card weekend. So all that factors into me where I feel good about their chances in week one of the playoffs.
Yeah, same. I mean, we'll see who it is. That's why we didn't spend a lot of time on this game, outside of wanting to know how many actual starters are going to rest in this game. Like I said, I think the prime candidates for us is we already know it's Stafford, but it's got to be Puka, Cooper Cup. I think uh, Rob Havensheim's not playing in this game. I think you rest some of your line here and there, and I think those are pretty much it. Can you think about anybody in the defense you would like to see them rest?
The tricky one is the young players. What have they really done to earn that? You're not a veteran. You don't really have a lot of injuries, but they're already very important players. Like the rookies. Does that send a bad message? Are you gonna sit Jared Verse and Braden Fisk? Maybe, but they've been their best players defensively. And I still think Kobe Turner is the most important one. I think
I think he's the one that would be up for resting, just
yeah,
because.
second year
He,
guy. Why
yeah,
not? But
yeah.
the other guys, I don't. They're very important players, but they're rookies, and that's maybe the only thing I'll think about here. But Sean McVay has a good pulse on this team, where he doesn't give a crap about that. Like people believe he's gonna make the right call, rookie or not. So I could see all these guys resting, or maybe playing a quarter. Again, like you mentioned, Victor, you still got to field the roster and put a team out there. You can't sit everybody. But I think the rookies go to the top there to play in the first quarter. But I think Verse and Fitz will come out very quickly if they do.
I want to see Jonah Jackson in this game, Gilbert. I think you
Oh
got to
yeah,
see what you
yeah.
have in him.
Yeah, you paid him a
Um,
bunch of money. Why not?
yeah, you got to see what you have in him. I understand. I would even play Steve Avila at center in this game. Why
Yeah,
not? Just to
experiment with your
see
O line.
either
Yeah,
one, either Jonah Jackson at center or switch them off. You got to see what you have in those two guys. I know Steve Avila is the one that's playing at left guard, but see what you have. Or even rest Kevin Dotson. I mean, Kevin Dotson's been
yeah,
hurt most of the year. He's another guy that would be another guy that you might want to rest and try to see what you have. But you got to put Jonah Jackson in this game and see what you have, and we'll see what happens.
yeah. And same thing with Bo Limmer. He's a rookie. He's a
Hmm.
center. Do you rest him or not? Or, yeah. But I think definitely like Avila, Limmer, and Jackson could play, but maybe you rest Dotson, Jackson, and Havenstein. But again, you got to fill the roster somehow. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of these guys go for at least a quarter.
Yeah. Last one here from Nate says Nate 323. If the Rams end up playing the Packers, I think we win this game at home. Packers just lost Alexander for their season.
Yeah, and something about the Packers passing game is not clicking. I don't like the Packers for that reason. And at least with the Commanders, you know that their quarterback could carry you. The Commanders have a lot of weaknesses. They don't have the defense the Packers have. They don't even have the playmakers that the Packers have. But I know that the guy with the ball in his hands is going to make plays in both aspects, the running game and the passing game. Like Jordan Love just looks out of sync. Like ever since Josh Jacobs became their feature workhorse back, it's kind of like they don't. He needs to be in a rhythm. He needs to be get going. And then with the Vikings game, he got going too late, and by then you were down 14 points or 17 points in the fourth quarter, and it was too late. So I would like to see Matt LaFleur switch it up, have Jordan Love be the one starting the offense, and then Jacobs could be the closer. I don't know why they're doing this kind of funky, slow, conservative offense here. I get it. You want to protect your young quarterback because Matt LaFleur, to his credit, he knows second time around, second year starting. You don't want to be like CJ Stroud where people know what the hell you're going to do. CJ,
Hmm.
save us. And they got him a good running game and you have a good defense. But then I feel like Jordan Love never got in rhythm. He seems like a guy who needs to be in rhythm, who gets hot in a hurry. And then when he doesn't get hot, he's not the best quarterback. I get that. So I think he was trying to protect them too much, where that really affected his play. He's a rhythm guy for sure. And I could definitely see Matt LaFleur saying, "All right, now that the season's over, regular season's over, training wheels come off, go do your thing, and then be as good as you're supposed to be after we paid you."
It just feels like the reason he's very passive is because when they become run heavy, he kind of just phases out himself. Like he phases himself out. And then when it's like, okay, we're down 2 or 3 scores. All right, go do your thing, Jordan Love. And then that's when he gets hot and he gets really, into the game. It feels like so. Maybe he just, Matt LaFleur just needs to get him involved early instead of. But I understand what Matt LaFleur is doing, running the ball, because that's what you
Yeah.
got to do. So we'll see what happens. We got a couple more comments here, and then we got to go. Michael Armenta says Rams versus Lions NFC title game. Rams win. And then Joaquin Quijada says, hopefully this gets you guys. Rams beat the Lions, Commanders, and Vikings in order and stop the three-peat. Good catching, you fellas, Mob Squad.
Wow.
There
Okay,
you
so you got
go.
the Commanders in the second round. You
Yeah.
got the I'm guessing Lions and the Rams in the 4-5 matchup. And then Commanders what? Well, I
Yeah,
guess it'll
he's
be
got
tough. Yeah.
he has the Lions, he's
Yeah.
got them beating them in the first round,
Gotcha.
then the Commanders in the second round, and
So
then the Vikings in the NFC
okay,
title game.
so
So that tells
Commanders
me that he
will play the
has the
Vikings.
Vikings winning the division.
Yeah, so Commanders will play the Vikings in the second round, and then Vikings Rams meet in the title game. Yeah, yeah, I can see it. Why not?
Yeah.
Any scenario you could think of in this NFC that's wide open, I can see it.
Yeah, and then Robert D. I like a lot of your comments here. I'll get to them in Gilberto's hour, since a lot of these things have to do with what we're going to talk over there. So if we'll get to them, if you want to join us, if not, we totally understand. But I'm gonna use some of these comments over there. So and we got to go and start that show soon. So. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who joined us. I didn't know how many people were going to get on here. I think we almost got around 20 people, and I just want to give a shout out to Robert D and Jorge for getting the comments going. And then our usuals, Michael Armenta. Shout out to you guys. Who else we got? Who else? Willie Bowen. We got your comments in there. Johnny G keeping it PG. We really like that. Delbert, Salgado, Steve On. So really, Nate 323. Awesome, great questions, getting us going. And then of course, Joaquin Quijada. All right, Robert D. Thank you. He says he'll be there, and we'll get all those questions in there for you, because they have to do with a lot of this stuff that we're going to talk about on that show. So thank you guys, and shout out to everybody who commented. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and you're if you're wondering about what's up boats previewing Chargers Raiders Part 2 Week 18. Fernando's gonna do it early, 9 a.m. 9 a.m. in the morning Pacific time. So if you want to
Wow.
be up early for what's up boats, check out Fernando and Dan at 9 a.m. to talk Chargers and the Raiders. But yeah, very early which makes sense because you want to get the content out there on a Friday.
Yep.
So that way it's not forgotten over the weekend. So yeah, check out what Fernando's doing. But we're gonna be on here at 6:30. We'll come back for Gilberto's hour. We'll talk week 18, full schedule, have more conversations like this. Anything you want to talk about for the playoffs, we love it, and we'll give you kind of a betting aspect from it. And if you have any fantasy football questions, we'll answer them. I'm not expecting too much because maybe you need help if you're playing fantasy football in week 18. But
Yeah.
everybody likes to play different formats there. I would not play week 18. You just don't even know how to field a team in the fantasy football playoffs in week
Yeah.
18. But
I'm glad
uh,
we're done. I'll
yeah,
be honest.
Robert getting 11 a.m. Better for him. But yes, Victor, week 17 is definitely a way to go for your fantasy football title game.
Yeah, I'm glad. Like I was just like, I'm glad I'm like 3 leagues are done with. I can just focus on doing these shows and get ready for the actual playoffs that have to do with the NFL. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for this. I know week 18 kind of sucks in terms I mean, we're only gonna preview 2 games on Gilberto's hours. So that's the only bad part, but I'm excited for the playoffs. So we'll see you guys here on House of Horns post game show for Seahawks and Rams. Following that, right around 4:45, depending on when Gilbert is done, and then we'll see how many shows we can do for that first round. Hopefully, maybe just one, but maybe we can get it 2 in, depending on how much the demand is for that first round matchup, whoever it is for the Rams. But yeah, stay locked in, and we'll have all the news that we can get for you guys.
Yeah, so see you guys at 6:30 for Gilberto's hour, and yeah, see you Sunday late afternoon for House of Horns, and we'll know by then if the Rams are playing as a 3 seed, as a 4 seed. We won't know the opponent because a lot has to be determined between Vikings and the Lions, but at least you'll know if it's 3 or 4. Maybe you're the 3 and you don't even give a crap about that Lions Vikings game, or you're the 4 and you're like, oh, who do you get? Should be interesting. So we'll find out Sunday late afternoon. See you then. But time to get going. See you on 6:30 Pacific time. If you're going to be sticking around, again, we love all the comments and support here. Check out our merch site here. I put the link in the description, and that'd be great. And can you post a link for 6:30? Yeah, we'll check out House of Horns or Compas on the Beat. The live will be ready to go for 6:30, similar to how we do it here at House of Horns. So we'll be here in a bit. We'll take a little break here, but time to get going. On that note, ya nos vamos, pues.